Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Sophia Grant,
And I am Judy Grant.
and welcome to this edition of SOCA, Two Sisters of a Certain Age.
Conversations with a therapist and a doctor.
Judy, guess what? You would not
What?
believe what I signed up for.
What did you do?
Um, well, I've been feeling kind of lonely, and I just
Mm-hmm.
want something warm to snuggle up with. So, I've decided to be a foster mom to a dog.
Oh,
Yes.
that doesn't surprise me at all, Candy.
I know. It's been a while since I lost my other two dogs, and I am changing breeds, and I'm going to be a pit bull foster mom. And I have a little girl coming to me probably in a couple days. She was bred and bred and bred, and they delivered all her puppies via C-section. And when they were done with her, they cast her aside. So, yeah, I'm just going to love up on her and, have something to take care of and something to love. I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm going to go ahead and say that the whole foster thing is going to be very short-lived because after a day, you're going to say,
I
no,
know.
she's my baby.
I know. I know. I'm already thinking for names for her. So, oh gosh. Today is a really special day because we have two guests from the Real Mama Pod. We have Devon and Kendra. We were on their show and they are going to be on our show. But I was talking to Judy and I said, they are where we were 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we want to talk to them about their journey and their podcast and how life is. So, Judy, I'll let you get started. Welcome, Devon and Kendra.
Thanks for having us. Hi.
I'm gonna steal from them for a little bit because when they open up their podcast, they say, "Hey, Mama, hey."
Hey, mama. Hey.
Hey, mama.
So, why don't we start by just tell us just a little bit about yourselves? I would really love to hear how you got into this whole podcast world yourselves, in addition to be professional women and mothers. So, what brought you to Real Mama Pod?
Well, I'm Kendra. I am a co-host for the Real Mama Pod. And what brought me to this world is being a mom. I have a very handsome 3-year-old son. And, becoming a mother had its challenges and trauma. And that's why I'm here on this platform to share my story in hopes that it provides community to other mothers and their stories. Okay. So I have a husband who I love dearly. We, again, have our 3-year-old son, Eli. We have a dog, Kobe. And I want to side with Judy in the fact that, Sophia, when you get that dog, you're not going to want to give it back. So you might as well go ahead and adopt the dog.
I know.
Devin.
So I'm Devin Grace, a mom of two beautiful boys, Drew and Jay. They are 4 and 2, turning 5 and 3. I am married to Jared Grace. We've been married for 8 years. I call this the Great 8. This is the best time we've had as a married couple. The first 7 years, oh no. So I feel like you can make it through the first 7. You might make it to eternity.
I think we're going on 6 this year.
6, almost 6, yeah. Jared and I have been together since we were 19 years old. So we've been together for 15 years, married for 8. We are business partners as well. My journey to mamahood was interesting. But yes, the reason why we started the Real Mama Pod, Kendra and I are best friends. We met in college. We've been friends for...
We met when we were 19.
19,
when you and Jared started dating.
Yeah, I met them at the same time. Wow. And it's weird because they are from the same city in Florida. And I met them at the same time. And they act so much alike. So it's just like I can't get away from either one of them. So
You don't want to get away
I
from
don't. I love them. So yeah, Kendra and I during the pandemic, we both were unemployed, and we would vent on the phone all the time, and we had so many WTF moments that we were like, we need to talk about this, and we can't be the only people going through this. So let's like get our stories out there and get our friends' stories out there, and it just turned into this beautiful podcast / community.
Yeah, it's definitely growing. So
Yeah.
we're thankful for this platform is an outlet for us,
Yeah.
and it allows space for other moms to share their experiences as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why we're here and why we're doing the work we're doing.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, Judy and I, we can look back and talk about stuff we wish we knew, stuff we wish people had told us. What is one of the things that you kind of wish you knew about motherhood, or an area where you have a lot of anxiety when it comes to parenting?
That's a good question because I feel like I'm always anxious about
Yes,
everything.
you are, friend, and it's okay. So I had my, I guess, gaps were mainly around the fertility process and being pregnant. So my first pregnancy was a miscarriage, and I heard of miscarriages, but I didn't know how frequently they happened. So when it happened to me, I was very surprised and confused as to how and why I had a miscarriage. But after having conversations with so many women and sharing my story, I learned that they're actually more common than not. So that was my first experience. The pregnancy I had with my son, I had severe preeclampsia, which had me hospitalized for a month, and he was born prematurely at 33 weeks and 4 days. So that was another moment where I had no idea. I'd never heard of preeclampsia until I was diagnosed with it. And my son spent 2 weeks in the NICU, which was another experience that I had no idea about. I knew NICUs were there. I knew
Stressful.
very, very stressful. But I always applaud NICU staff, doctors, nurses. They were real lights in such a dark space. So that was another moment where I'm like, what the hell is this? Never heard of preeclampsia until I shared my story and then heard of how common that is. And I most recently had an ectopic pregnancy, which I had only heard of one time because of a family member, but before her experience, never heard of it. So all of these traumas and experiences that I personally had is where a lot of my questions and gaps were. And I didn't know how large of an issue all of these three things were because no one shared this information with me. And when I shared my story, I then learned that there's a community of moms out here, or moms to be, who have never heard of these things as well, or they've gone through them and didn't feel like they had a community to support them because they felt like they were alone. They didn't know that other moms experienced this as well. So that's my own personal side of the gaps and misinformation or no information about the three things that I experienced.
Right. And to add to that, for me, my oldest experienced some time in the NICU as well. Full term, 9 pounds, 2 ounces, healthy pregnancy, nothing. And for him to come out with breathing problems. And again, like Kendra said, in an infection, Kendra stated, you hear about the NICU, but when you're in the hospital, you're going for your checkups, they don't tell you the possibility of your child going to the NICU. So that was just a shocker for me. I was not prepared. I didn't know what to do. I'm a military spouse, and the closest NICU was 2 hours away from my home when we lived in California, and my baby had to be airlifted alone 2 hours away. And so that was just crucial and devastating
as a new mom
to me as a new mom, because I'm like, NICU, what? Why? Hey, why is this even happening? Like, what happened? And then the second part, because I experienced so much trauma, my milk supply sucked. And so not in our day and age, I know when we were 80s babies, our moms was like formula all the way, no breastfeeding. And then it kind of like changed to like breastfeeding, right? Breast is best. And so I felt so defeated as a mom because I could not feed my child. And none of the messaging was like, fed baby is best, not breast is best, formula is best, a fed baby is best. So in my mind, I could not turn off, you're not producing milk. So I felt like I was a bad mother because I couldn't feed my child.
Right.
And the best thing, and I'm always an advocate, is a fed baby is the best baby. It doesn't matter how the baby get the milk as long as they have milk. And so it impacted me when I was pumping. It impacted me his whole first year. And I did breastfeed as I could, but I supplemented mostly. Now with my second one, my mind frame was totally different, and I produced all the milk in the world. So it was just I was in my own head, but not having that messaging for me really messed me up with my first child. So yeah.
Wow.
You know, I share that when I had my first child, I was in residency, and residency is super duper stressful. And when I came back, I couldn't get to drink water. I couldn't get to pump. I'm in the pumping room, the pager goes off. And so my milk supply dwindled fairly quickly upon returning to work. And I felt so bad. And I was telling my mother, and she told me, don't start feeling guilty about these small things now. You have the rest of your life and you're doing what is best for your baby. So I've been there with regard to feeling like you aren't performing well as a mother. And, that mindset of breast is best. Like, I agree, a fed baby is best. And there's so many things in motherhood that makes us feel inadequate. Like, I had a C-section for my first child, and I felt like I disappointed my husband. I didn't do it right. And that's so much guilt to carry throughout your parenting and your mothering.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what's so important is that we talk about these experiences so people don't feel like they're alone. And the more we share about our own lived experiences, the more people understand that these things are happening, and these things are real, and empathy between us grows as a result. I'm a firm believer that you do whatever works for you and your child. Don't let
Yes.
somebody come in and
Exactly.
say, "Oh, you're not sleep training? Oh, they're still using the sippy cup? Oh, you haven't done this, that, and the other." Well, those things don't work for me or my child. So I'm going to do them. I'll do those things when it is the appropriate time. And I think a lot of new parents get so much helpful advice from loved ones, friends, and family. And when they are unable to follow through with that advice, they're made to feel less than. And
Yeah.
Right.
we need to get rid of that. We need to free these moms and let them know that just do your best, and that's all your child needs from you.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Your best is all you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Agree.
And it's you said something earlier about your podcast and building a sense of community, and that's what I'm thinking about, the similarities between my sister and myself and what the two of you are doing. This is all about creating community, a place where people can share freely and honestly and be transparent and not pretend. And
Yes.
what it is to have sisterhood. And my sister and I, yeah, we are sisters, but you're our sisters. And my neighbor's my
Right.
sister. And we need to be able to bring people together in a safe environment. So thank you so much for what you do on Real Mama Pod.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
I know.
So I wanted to ask, clearly you've got busy lives. You've got so many things going on. As a therapist, I talk a lot about self-care and the need for it. And as moms, we often don't think of ourselves and what we need to do for ourselves. So I want to ask you, how did the two of you incorporate self-care into your lives?
We actually have been doing much better with this, and we'll probably tag team this question. But as most moms know, the first 2 years, it's just hard. I'm gonna be honest. You trying to sleep train, trying to do all these things. But I feel like after that second year, you kind of get a sense of self. And so we have been holding each other accountable about taking care of ourselves. So if that's napping, if that's going to get our hair done, if that's going to get a facial, get a massage, get our nails done, like we go buy ourselves something nice or something inexpensive, whatever makes us feel good. If we want to work out or find a new meal regimen we want to try, taking care of our insides as well. I think sometimes people get wrapped up in self-care and the physical part. And for me, for a long time, getting my nails done was not self-care to me. It was too draining trying to fight for appointments to get my nails done in this small amount of time frame, because now these new
nail
stylists
techs
and nail techs, they have a small window where you can get in to see them, and because they have lives too, and which I respect, but that time frame does not work for me as a mother. So just figuring out what works for me and what makes me happy. If that's sitting in my car and scrolling on social media for 5 minutes without the kids like taking my phone and wanting to see the reel, whatever self-care looks like for me. But we have definitely been holding ourselves accountable, and our husbands have too. Like, oh, I noticed you didn't get your facial this month. Won't you go? I'll take care of the kids. You have anything to add?
No, I think you've covered most of it. But one thing Devin and I have been more intentional about is our appearance, right? When we were in college, like we were always like, girl, let's go to the cell. We're going out. We gotta look good. We were always very intentional about the way we looked, even through like our early adulthood age.
It's when the kids came.
Yeah, when the kids came, it's like, I don't care. I just have on my sweatpants. My hair's not done. My nails look a mess. My toes look a mess. Everything looks a mess. And I didn't care.
And our kids look great.
Oh, the kids will always look great, right? But we didn't care about, what we looked like, because our focus was making sure our kids and our households are taken care of. But one turning point for me was, we did an interview with a good friend of ours from college last year, and she had her son a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And one thing she always did was keep herself up while she was pregnant. After she had her son, she always kept her appearance intact. And she fussed at us. She was like, y'all are beautiful women. Not that you're not beautiful when you're not all dressed up and glammed up, but I want to challenge you to take more care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, in all aspects. And that was a turning point for me. I'm like, you know what? I do need to be more intentional, because if I don't care for me, nobody's going to care for me. Not that they don't care about me, but caring for me.
Because our husbands can care less.
Yeah, they love us in all its authenticity. Like, my husband prefers me to not be glammed. Like, he wants me just as I am. But that, I want to take care of myself. So, I've been more intentional since that conversation with our friend last year. And I get my nails done. I'm the one who's fighting for appointments. Yes, I have my nail girl, and I'm sticking beside her. I've been more intentional about trying new hairstyles. I've been more intentional about going out to dinner. I love a good meal. I love a good cocktail. We talked about that on our episode, but those are things that bring me joy. And the things that bring me joy is what I've been pouring into. And that's my sense of self-care.
Yeah.
So kind of getting back to where I was before, and then also incorporating some new things.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, because I also recognize, like, when we feel good, we're in a better place to give to others, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And it's like being on the airplane. You mamas and daddies put the oxygen mask on first. So we need to take care of ourselves so we can be more present for those who need us. But I love what you're doing, and I just and call out, loving the red lips on both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was noticing that, and I was told that red lips are too bright, and so I kind of wore this neutral lip, and I'm like, when I see you guys, I'm like, I need to rethink this red lip thing, because it looks fabulous.
Red lips are too bright.
Let me tell you. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you that one.
Yeah.
This is a shameless plug. We had her on our Rich Auntie episode, but the owner of this company is named Melissa Butler, and she is the owner of The Lip Bar. And you can find her in Target or online, and she has vegan products, and her lip sticks are amazing.
Yeah.
They last, they're long lasting.
They are, and they're vibrant.
They're vibrant.
When you put it
colors.
on, that's it.
And we get compliments
It
all the
stays
time
on.
on our lipsticks. Yeah. And it comes off easy. It doesn't stain or anything like that. But you can find it in Target. She was on Shark Tank a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And they told her business would never be successful.
Black woman?
Yes,
Is
black
this a
woman.
black business?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Black
Judy, we
business.
might have to do a Target field trip to get some lipstick.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
She has 2 brands now in Target, Thread Beauty and the Lip Bar. And they told her business was going to sink. Like they would never be anything. And she's a multi-million dollar company now with 2 successful brands in
Definitely
Target.
go support.
She has her own website as well. Very down to earth. She's on Netflix documentaries. Like just a great person to support and business to support.
Yeah. She went to college with us.
And she's also my sorority sister. Yeah.
Oh, so she went to FAMU.
Yeah, she went to FAMU.
HBCU graduate, absolutely.
I'm an HBCU graduate. I went to Meharry, and I'm also I am a Morehouse mom and a Bison mom. I have a daughter at Howard University right now. Yeah.
Oh, we love the HBCU.
We do.
I have a question for you guys, and this is kind of a heavy question, but when I think about how Judy and I were raised, which was great, there is some kind of generational stuff that tries to get passed on that you just say, no, I'm not going to do that with my kids. And one of the things, is like our parents never apologize. It's just Jamaican people just don't apologize. And I recognize that is not good. And, or maybe I just shouldn't say Jamaican, just a lot of people don't apologize, especially when it comes to parenting. Is there any type of generational stuff that you've experienced that you have said, you know what, I'm not continuing with this. This is stopping.
So one thing that sticks out to me is my family, we're not really an emotional family. We were always told, oh, stop crying, or it's not that serious. And, I don't want to say my parents shut me up about emotions, but we didn't really display much of that. And when we did, it was like, kind of, I don't want to say shunned. They cared, but it was like kind of a suck it up thing, right? So I've been programmed to not, I don't want to say not be emotional, but not show as much emotion. And I don't want my son to feel that he can't show emotion or like he's less than a boy or a man because he is showing emotion. And my husband does a great job with showing emotion and allowing him to be okay with showing emotion and crying. And my husband he's a psychologist, so he has a perspective that welcomes emotion and talking through things and breathing through things, and he's showing our son how to do that, like from as a man, right? And it's something that I'm learning because I was programmed to not show as much emotion, and I have a brother who didn't show as much emotion because we didn't grow up in a house that was very emotional, end quote. So that is something that I don't want to carry into being a parent, is not being open or welcome to my son being emotional, because it's okay to be emotional. You should be emotional. You should feel things. It's just a matter of how do you navigate those feelings and those emotions in a positive way. Right. So that's my answer to that question.
Yes. For me, it would be apologizing to my kids and spanking. So I wasn't one who really got spanked as a kid, but my sisters were. You just had to look at me and I was good. But my sisters, they tested the limits a little bit more. And even though I wasn't the one getting spanked, I still felt a way. Like I would cry when my sisters got spanked. So I was like, I would never do that to my kids. Now, I'm not going to say I never spank them ever, but it's very rare for me to do that because I feel like there's other ways for me to communicate with my kids without hitting them. And sometimes when that's the first reaction, it's the easiest one to do. But when you have them process and talk through their feelings and kind of figure out why they did a certain act, you get better results. And it's
Right.
crazy because my husband also grew up in a household that spanked, and that was his mindset. And now that I'm teaching him alternative ways, I see him using those ways, and it's really allowing our kids to be a little bit more articulate and be able to identify those emotions. So my 4 year
Right.
old would tell me, "Mommy, you made me upset because of this. I didn't
Nope.
like this because of this." And it's like, okay, this is working. And
Right.
sometimes it's a little disrespectful. I'm like, wait,
Right.
you still can't talk to mommy like this. Like, let's change the tone. But I am
Right.
raising, or we are raising 2 black boys who's able to articulate instead of choose violence. And know how to use their words to really get their point across. So that's something I'm very proud of with both my boys. And of course, my oldest does it, so my youngest fall right in suit. And then apologizing because I am human. So I may lose my cool sometimes because toddlers, they have a way of like trying you. And
They
so
do.
and I'm a trained school psychologist and I have all this training, I have this background, but at the end of the day, I'm still human and I still have emotions and I still have hormones and my own things that I'm going through. So there may be a time or two I may snap on my 4 year old, but just apologizing to him. Mommy is so sorry. You did this to mommy. And yes, I am the adult and I should not have acted that way. And mommy apologized for that because I don't say sorry to my kids either. I apologize and I try to get them to use that language as well because they aren't sorry people. So teach them to use that language. And so I do apologize. Like, mommy apologize for doing XYZ, but can you work on not doing XYZ? And mommy will work on doing XYZ. And do you forgive me? We hug it out and we move forward. So
Right.
there's no right answer, but that's my answer.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm so moved by your responses and your approaches to your parenting, and I'm so appreciative of that. And as a therapist, and I'm hearing the two of you talk, it's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I want for my little kiddos when they come in and they're dealing with things, and I have to then try to explain to the parent how they can relate better or better understand. And yeah, I just thank you. Just thank you for being who you are.
Of
Thank
course.
you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, as a child abuse doctor, a lot of the physical abuse that I see kids for happens as a form of discipline. The kid isn't doing well in school, and then, a parent decides to spank the kid, and then it turns really violent. So, um, yeah, the violence will beget violence for sure. Um, and I just want to share, when my kids were small and like they would upset me, one of the things I did is I had a spare room and I said, why don't you go into I called it the crying room because they would go in there to cry. I said, cry all you want, but cry in there, come back, and let's talk about your feelings. But I would have them go into the room, and it wasn't for a fixed time, and just say, why don't you come back and tell me why you think I am upset? Why you think
Mhm.
what you did hurt my feelings?
Mhm.
And they come back with really insightful comments that if I just chose to spank them, it would have been like, I'm mad, I got spanked, I won't do it. But it didn't really create any room for mental change, you
Mhm.
know? So that was something that I really liked, is when my kids would say, well, I told you I was going to do this and I didn't do it, and then I lied. And so that means, and it can start really young. And my kids, my kids would tell me things like, Mommy, you hurt my feelings. I'm like, what did I do? And we would
Right.
really have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback on that, I've worked with many clients and parents, like when children maybe misbehave, and have the parent ask them, like, why do you think you did that? What motivated you to do that? To help them kind of process in their own minds, like, wait, why did I do that?
Right.
Oh, I really wanted the cookie. That's why, I climbed up and took the cookie when mommy told me not to. But helping them to process their behavior even after the fact, I think is a very worthwhile intervention for parents to use.
Certainly, and we're practicing that every day. Every day is not perfect, but we try our best.
Right.
I think that that's a great point, because I am not a perfect parent. There is no way I possibly could be. And it's okay to acknowledge that you're not perfect. It's okay to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. I think children look at you and you're like, oh my gosh, you're the adult, you're the parent, you know everything. No, actually I don't, sweetie. And so give me a minute. Let me figure that out. And let me get back to you.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, again, with your busy lives, and I love the self-care and I love the parenting, what do you and your spouse do for each other? How do you find the time for one another in this busy, chaotic world?
I love that. I'll go first.
Yeah, you answer I answer the last question first.
So, being parents of small children, you have to be intentional with your time. And as you all probably know too, like, husbands are needy. They're more needy than kids sometimes, because they need that physical touch and those words of affirmation as well. And you're sometimes, as mom or as women, we are on the go. Like, we forget to do those things. So you have to be like conscious enough to make sure you provide that to your spouse. So there are a few things we implemented, or that I initiated, and my husband helped us bring it to fruition. Because sometimes I feel like I have to bring him the ideas for it to happen. So we have date days, because almost every single month, we have an opportunity where our kids have a daycare or a holiday camp, or they have daycare, basically. When my oldest son's school is closed, he goes to holiday camp, and then my youngest son actually goes to that Montessori school. So it works out perfectly. So we have a time, pretty much 6 hours together, where we can go explore a new restaurant or catch a movie or do something to connect. So I'm very grateful for that. So we get that once a month. Like I said before, we are a military family, so we are not around family a lot. So our military friends become family. So if there's a concert that we want to attend, we'll do a children's swap with one of my friends. So we'll pick a month, like, okay, we'll take your kids this month on this weekend, and you'll take our kids on this month on this weekend. And so that way we are able to kind of do things as well. So for example, my husband and I actually went to a wedding in Vegas. And so that was a 3-4 day trip. My friend had our kids, and now next month we'll have his kids. And they have 5 kids, but the more kids, the better. They entertain themselves, so it's really not that bad. And then the second thing we implemented at the top of this year was a journal. And so once a week, my husband and I, we communicate to each other through our journal. And this is our way to kind of connect intimately as well. And it could be a number of things. Some things we've shared in our journal was, I would say, I love how great you're doing. I love how you lead our family, XYZ. If it's something I want him to work on, I'll start off with a positive, put what I need him to work on in that middle, and then at the end off with a positive, what I'm looking forward to. So for example, we had our Vegas trip. I was like, I can't wait to do XYZ in Vegas, to be kid free and really just get back to ourselves. And he's been really responsive to that. And it's so cool because we do it weekly. It's not every day, but we leave the journal when we're done writing in different parts of the house. So that's how we know someone has written in the journal. And it's been really nice. I feel like we have opened up a new way to be intimate with each other. And sometimes when you have those tough conversations, it's harder to hear it, but when you read it, you get a different perspective. So we both have been really responsive to our journal.
Good stuff.
That's great.
Good stuff. So my husband and I, we have incorporated something called Intimacy Night, where every Wednesday we put our phones down. If we're not watching a movie or a series as a part of Intimacy Night, the TV's off, and it's really just us connecting with each other however we want to. We take turns doing that. I think this coming Wednesday is my turn, so I need to figure out what we're gonna do. But we noticed that we both have very busy lives with our careers and our son, and just even the extra things that we're doing. And we noticed that we weren't as intimate as we used to be. And it's not because we didn't want to be, it's just that we had so much going on in our personal lives that we didn't want to disconnect from each other because, we're each other's partner, right? So we incorporated intimacy night maybe early last fall or late last summer, and we've been doing it consistently unless something, happens.
Yeah.
But it's worked for us. We've enjoyed it, and that's our way of connecting with each other on a consistent basis. Mm-hmm. Now, me and my husband are into the same things. We both love to eat. We both love a good cocktail. We both love to travel. We both love music. And we find ways to connect with each other in those ways. Like, we also love the same sports. I love to watch college football, so does he. We connected over Kobe Bryant, who is our favorite basketball player. So we find ways to connect with each other outside of your typical way of being intimate. Mm-hmm. Like we talk about music, like I mentioned. If it's a Friday and a new artist that we like has a new album, he's sending me the text like, hey, so-and-so dropped an album, or we're into the same movies and things. So we try to find ways to connect with each other in those spaces as well, because it's fun and we are life partners and this is what we love to do with each other. So outside of intimacy night, we connect with each other in those ways. We try to do a date night once a month. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, my brother and my sister-in-law live here in Atlanta with us. They have 2 children, so we try to swap with them whenever they decide to go out. We take their kids, and when we want to go out, we'll say, hey, can you watch Eli for us because we want to go out for a night? Or my mother lives an hour and a half away, and so does my mother-in-law, so we're able to tap into them as well. So we take advantage of our village and say, hey, can you watch Eli? Because we do want to spend that time with each other. And we welcome other couples and friends and family who live locally to do the same and say, hey, we'll take your kids so that you can go out and enjoy each other. So that's how we stay intimate. And we're very open with communication. I'm a very vocal person how I feel, and so is my husband. So if there are areas where we feel like we really need to be more intentional about in terms of connecting with each other, we make sure we communicate that.
Wow.
That's wonderful. It's so important to keep that communication open and to keep that intimacy alive, because quite frequently, especially in the early parts of parenthood, you and your spouse are really concentrated on the kids and you really neglect the relationship. So I commend you both for keeping that alive.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's not easy, but
No, it's not easy, but the things that we really want, the things that we need to preserve, we need to work at, whatever that might be. So we recognize that relationships,
Right.
if it's a sister, if it's a friend, you need to do something to continue to foster that relationship. And that's what the two of you are doing. And I think for our listeners, they're going to get some really helpful tips from the two of you. So I want to thank you for sharing that tremendously.
Of course.
That was great. That was great. I feel like
Thank
we
you.
could go on and talk
Yeah.
about marriage
Right.
and relationships and parenthood. And if this was an endless forum, we'd be able to do so. But I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up. But
Yeah.
I do want to
Mhm.
I do want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure. Candy and I came into this podcast world like, let's just share what we got going on. And it's so
Right.
nice to be able to meet other people who are doing something similar, who have like real things that they want to share to build that sense of community and awareness and sisterhood. And it's just been a pleasure to have you. And I just wish the two of you, just the very best as you move forward with Real Mama Pod.
Absolutely. Thank you
Same
so
for
much.
y'all.
And we wish the same for you all. And we look forward to having more conversation with y'all.
Yeah, maybe we should do a live or something on Instagram.
Yeah,
something like that.
something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so much fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So when Candy and I sign off, we ask, we talk about something based upon the topic that we've shared that day, and we acknowledge that we can relate, you know? And so when I have the two of you here, the four of us here, um, mamas on that mama journey, whether you're at the beginning of your journey, the middle, or towards the latter part, because, you know, we all come in at different times on this journey, we can relate.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for sharing with us. Thank you for relating with us and just being that voice out there for other mamas to tap into.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And thank you as well.
Thank you so much for joining us today on To SOCA. It's been a pleasure to be with you today and to introduce you to two amazing women, Kendra and Devon of the Real Mama Pod. We invite you to like, share, comment, and just be a part of our journey as we continue on To SOCA.
And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us an email to socapodcast@gmail.com. And no matter where you are on your parenting journey, whether you have toddlers, you have empty nest, or you have kids still at home, we can relate.
No longer